Hello and welcome to the JCN Clinic Podcast Show. I'm Jessica. Sorry, guys, for the break in between podcasts. It's been a sweet month that's passed by. We did plan on bringing you one fortnightly, as is usually the plan, but we kind of tapped out. Sometimes life happens. I think Carissa and I every year have just these amazing intentions of the podcast being super frequent, super organized. We've talked about it before, but at the end of the day, like the clinic and our clients always come number one, and we get to a Friday and we're just like, yeah, nah. And we want to give you guys the best of us, right? So yeah. just just like just tapped out. Sometimes they were like we'll feel the waters with each other and like we can pull the other one over. You can see that there's a little bit of like if you tap out, I'll tap out. But yeah, once in a blue moon there's a like, nah, I'm gone. See ya. That's it. And we do the thing is, guys, we love doing this. Like we do really love it, but it's a lot of energy to bring at the end of the week, and we want to make sure we're sharing something that's enjoyable content. So yeah, we've got to make sure we're bringing it to the table. We don't do things half-ass. We're like fully in. Did you? I I did warn a few people. Oh, they would have loved it. You didn't get anyone. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, guys, today's podcast is going to be really, really interesting, and I'm excited for it because we've wanted to do this for a while. So, Chris is actually going to share her own personal health story, but particularly pertaining to the last 12 months in relation to what she's been doing with her hormones. Of course, when we say 12 months, like anytime we talk about health, it goes beyond 12 months. There's a like backstory to this, but the past 12 months there's been a lot she's been doing, and we've been talking for like pretty much probably since you started. I think you raised the option for us to bring this to the podcast, and we've talked about it and touched base at certain points, and again it needed to be a time when you were ready to do it, and today's the day. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, Reese, that's so nice to hear. Yeah. It's a teaser. Mm. Mm. I think you and I did those together. I think. We had to laughed at it hardcore. Wow. Mhm. 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 For sure. Can I just ask around that time too, where you had the family member with that diagnosis, how how were you feeling in your own skin and your own health with your hormones? Because obviously 5 or 6 years ago, repeating like doing the first Dutch, like I know you and I did that for our own reasons. And if anything, like always, as practitioners, there's a curiosity and just knowing how the test works. But I'm at the time, you did this test again. Were you generally happy with how things were going with your hormones? Like there wasn't any sort of kind of classic symptoms that were going on? Mm, mhm. No. Mm. Mhm. 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 Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Do you want to just explain? Sorry to interrupt, but just you've been talking Dutch, 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 and people are like, what? What do you mean? Yeah, just a hue map. Just yeah, just briefly, what you mean by doing a hue map? Mm. Cool. I was. Mm. Mm. Mhm. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Yep. Mm. Mm. Mhm. Yep. And for context, Rissy, like, you're talking about obviously doing hundreds of Dutch tests over the years as a practitioner. Like, if you had to put a percentage on how often this marker is out of range, what would you say? Because I know for me with I do Dutch testing for sure, but not to the level of frequency that you do with your clients, given how much you work with hormones. But I know it's not a large percentage. But yeah, I'm curious if you had to put like a percentage out of 100, how frequently it would pop up. Yeah. Yep. I'd 100% same. Yeah. Just to give people an idea of like how like infrequent this is. Yes. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I remember us talking about that. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Mm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, rightly so. Yeah. Mhm. 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 No, no, I think get into yeah, exactly that next what you did, and I think there'll probably be a few things there that I'd be keen to elaborate on. Mhm. Mhm. Yep. And we unfortunately have a clinic really close to Noosa Chocolate Factory that does really good coffees and hot chocolates and mochas. Mm. 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 For sure. Mhm. Mm. Mhm. Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Mm. Yeah, for sure. Well, that also ties into to like not that we'll talk about today, but in the aspects of everything going on for you, like you mentioned at the start about wanting to talk another time about the pain experience, which is a whole nother journey. But you were fundamentally yeah, right? Like, you were being very challenged in your ability to move your body as much as you wanted to move and to do the exercise that you wanna do, so it's really interesting hearing you talk through all these elements. It's like, that was another layer that was going on that was then, like, leading to you to gain a little bit of extra weight that you were feeling. So it's like, another thing that was kind of slowly going on, like as far as like even like not having control over something like that as well. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm. 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 Mhm. Yep. Mhm. Mm. Yep. Yep. Mhm. Yep. Mm. Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Mm. Mhm. Yeah. 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 So PC. Mm. Mhm. 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 And how and over yeah, and what would be I know you just said about 9 months with the weight loss but what would be the time frame of starting all of that till like when I guess you're taking it right up until you did the retest, I'm guessing. Well, really it's not like you stopped, like you're still doing these things, but yeah, what would be the time frame? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, rightly so. Yeah. Mm. Mhm. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. so amazing. No, no. Were you were you on quite high dose? I don't really want to mention supplements like we said, but were you on anything really high dose to drop the estrogen? Okay. Yep, yep. 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 Yeah. Yep. 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 As we do when it's ourselves. Mm, wow. So sorry, so like did the distribution of your 4 hydroxy to your 2 hydroxy and 16, did that look all like hunky dory, but it was more phase 2 that is the yeah, so this even with this retest you're like, no, 4 hydroxy's looking sweet, happy with my 2 where my 2's nice and robust, but it's more that no. Yep. Gotcha. Okay. Right. Yep. Mhm. Mhm. Yep. Yeah. Does it ever change? Like, do you ever see with these tests, like it's just always, yeah, it doesn't seem to budge. Interesting. Well, that was one of my questions with all of this, whether there were, I don't think you did. I think we talked about it, but doing, yeah, like had you done like a just genetic panel? Because I know that one of the labs we use, I think I asked you because we're talking about it for a client. I was looking at it for where it just actually does your more of your like hormone. There's, I'm sure there's like there's actually like an estrogen panel that you can get done, but you haven't done that at this point. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. Yeah. 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 Mm. Yeah. Exactly. But then there's that thing too, like as even as practitioners, when we're treating ourselves, like it's hard not to get lost. It's hard to not get lost in your own weeds, but also like you can know, I think you know too much. So you can make like and generally your assumptions about what are going on in your own body are right, but also you can get stuck in your own box. And I know I've experienced that where I've like thought, no, this is what's going on, and then I've tested and I'm like, oh shit. I didn't know that was actually part of what was going on. And like I've been hammering because I'm like so sure it's this, and this, which it often is. But yeah, that's where it would be really interesting to see you, like, even with you just mentioning then about those inflammatory snips, like, yeah, really, really interesting. Mm, yeah. 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 Mm, mm. Through RN Labs. Yeah. Mm, mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Mm, that's exciting. That's right. That's right. So how did you feel, Rissy? Like, again, you did this retest, besides the obvious of how you felt mentally and emotionally getting that test, like over the months. So that retest was basically 3 months later. um how were you physically feeling then? Were you feeling any different? And then even now, like, because again, it's not like you've stopped that. Like, do you in hindsight look back to where you were when you first started this and go, shit, I thought I felt good, but I actually fundamentally do feel better? And if so, what have you noticed? Yeah, that's why I ask. Mm, that's fucking horrific. Oh my god. Ugh. Jesus. Mm, mm, mm. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Mm, that all makes sense. Yeah. 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 They do. Well, and even what you just considering how much you've had going on, and it's so amazing to hear you share that and be honest about what you've been going through as well, because this is again what we see with clients and just life for people, because you're looking to make change and positive change, and we're looking to compare like past to present, but it's never that linear. So, when there's a lot going on, but I'll often talk to people about like considering the amount of stress you've been under and what's going on, like how resilient you've been on top of that. So for you to still have that notable impact in like feeling you can make the call about your energy levels being really good, and the fact that you've been able to continue to exercise and move your body and get gains in that way, like it kind of speaks volumes to itself. But yeah, it's not like it's not this clear linear thing where you can go, I was exactly the same at this point and life hasn't thrown stresses at me. And yeah, I just think it's such a prime example. um and as you said, also like the biggest indication is the test, like, which is fascinating because we'll also talk to clients, right, about like functional testing is so fantastic and amazing, but at the end of the day, the biggest, most important aspect is you as a person and how you feel. But in some ways, this is like how you feel is paramount. But this is one of those circumstances where actually that test result was really fucking important. It's just like really important. Yeah. 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 Mm. Mm. Yeah. Mm. 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 Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 That understand too. Yeah. Mm. 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 Yeah, absolutely. Oh, look, I always say that to clients with that. That page is like the most well, in your case, there's other confronting pages, but usually I'll say to clients, this is the most confronting page as far as like your life, and yes, we can take supplements to work on supporting what's going on with your cortisol and how your adrenals are reacting and that HPA axis, but nothing will impact it as much as your lifestyle and what's going on in your life and how you change your life. And it's the hardest thing for people to do. And yeah, you know that yourself. Let alone, yeah, 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 yeah. And that's the problem because it's also not that easy. Like there's some people where it is, we would probably say, well, it is easy because it's all up to you as far as you're in the control seat. But if you're in a situation like yourself where your major stress is coming externally to things going on in your family, like you can't stop that. Or like a classic example might be someone like a mum, like a newish mum that I can think of someone this week that I just had Dutch results come back for, and dealing with like a 1 year old or like some a child under the age of 2 where they're still getting majorly disrupted sleep, and it's not like they can just go and just put the kid and lock them in a room to make sure that they get 8 hours sleep and put put their mufflers on so they can't hear anything. Like there's a point that yeah, there's only so much you can control. So I think yeah, even for yourself, there's an element of you and what you're doing to help yourself, but there's also like a point where it's like, well, I can't control everyone around me, so what do I do? So I guess my last questions, which I think you just touched on, is like moving forward, what you plan to do as far as yeah, with testing. Like, is it something that you want to test certain amount of times a year or like once I'm guessing there's a plan around that. And also you also mentioned about where you're at now and what you're keeping up. Like does it feel like you've made a shift as we see clients do and it's just like no, this is how I live my life now? Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Mhm. Yeah. No, absolutely not. Yeah. Mm. 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 Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Mm. No. Yeah. Mm. Mhm. Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. No, so man, so true. And but you're right. Like it's there's so many things there that you want to scream from the rooftop that you want women to ask for and feel empowered to ask for and talk to their GPs about, because that's where like the biggest percentage of people are going. Like it's a smaller percentage of people that are coming along to talk to people like ourselves. And yeah, and I feel like the only, not the only way, but the biggest way as always that change happens is by people taking action. And that includes women, like asking, as you said, like you're going to go to your GP and you're going to ask, just like, this is what I need. This is what I want done. This is my health. Like I have a right to this. This is my body. This is my health. Like, let's get this done, and being assertive. Um, yeah. 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 Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Exactly. Yeah, and offer sometimes, like, if they balk at certain things because it's like a, I don't know, like, maybe I can just think of even things like with cost, where it's like, well, this is, you're entitled to this scan or this checkup like once a year, or like, every 2 years. It's like, well, no, I want to have this done every 6 months, or I want to have this done every year. Like, I'll pay to get this done. I know that might be a lot, some people might be like, well, I can't afford to do that, but there'd be a lot of people listening that can afford to do that, just may not think that they are entitled to ask. I can think of someone in my family that does that, that's di- had dysplasic cells, like from pap smear, and then being told, like, with follow up from that, just like, oh, just, as long as we do a pap smear once every 2 years, just keep an eye on it. And she was just like, no, that's not good enough. Like, I want to have this done more regularly. I don't want to wait 2 years in between. So, then you can go, oh no, it's happened again and it's progressed. It's like, no, I'm coming, like, every year or every 6 months. I can't remember what she decided to do, but she took it on herself to make sure that she would do that more regularly, and basically said to the doctor, this is what we're doing. Because it's her life and her health. Her uterus, exactly. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's it. Yes. Oh, thank you so much for sharing all of that. Hey, like, I know there's a lot I obviously already knew, but just hearing you just tell that story from start to where you are at now, and even just a few things in there that I wasn't aware of, like, yeah, I just think it's so empowering for women to be listening to. Like, I just cannot imagine how much women will get from this, or even males in relation to females in their life. And then just again, like, getting an understanding of how useful and powerful these tools that we have are, from obviously the testing element, but also all of the things, all of the tools in the toolbox box, as you said, that you have used yourself, um, and what that can lead to. And they may all seem, in some ways, I think this is something we talk about with clients, that they might seem like small little things, but how there's that accumulation and that additive effect. I just think, yeah, it's obviously really, really inspiring. And it's, yeah, again, for you to open up and share that, like, just thank you, because it's not easy to just be vulnerable and put everything out on the table. So thank you from me, and thank you to from all of the listeners, I'm sure. Yeah. Now, did you want to finish off as we do with some recommendations? Yeah, on the spot. Well, you have a think about it. I feel like I was like, oh, I want to recommend this and I want to recommend that. I'm going to do two. So I'll just, oh, okay. Yeah, I'll just do the two. Well, one is like a shameless, like, plug, um, which is, I think by the time this podcast goes live, it will be live on the website, is a new bread recipe. It's called The Best Gluten Free Bread Recipe, which, I had a little bit of a debate in this household about that title. And I'm like, no, that's what it's being called because it is the best. So it is the best. If you want a gluten-free bread that actually is like a bread, because a lot of the gluten-free breads on the website are more of like a loaf bread, which I love. Like the gut-friendly bread is like an institution, but they are more loafy breads. This one's more like a bread that almost looks a bit sourdoughy, but it's not. You can slice it really well. Like you could use it for sandwiches. It's a lighter finish. Yeah, Carissa was saying earlier it looks like a rye. Like it almost, I would say, is like kind of imagine like a rye sourdough, but it's not sourdough. So check it out. I'll link it in the show notes. The other I want to recommend is there's like two others. No, Jessica, just pick one. I'm gonna go TV show. I'll leave the other one. So we've just started watching on Apple TV a documentary on the supermodels. It's literally called The Supermodels, I think. I'm sure it is. But basically, it's about the 80s and all about the rise of Cindy Crawford, Linda Evangelista. Who else who am I missing? Who was the other ones? There's two others, and they're like slipping my name. Their names are slipping my mind at the moment. Oh, it's really annoying me. Linda. No, she's not. It's not her. Christy, oh shit. I can't remember the four of them. No, hang on, who did I say? Linda, Cindy, Christy, Linda. Oh, Naomi Campbell. Yeah. So it's those four. It's those four supermodels. And it's basically following them from their rise. They've got really, really early footage and photos, which is amazing because we're talking like late 70s into early 80s, and following their rise into modeling and how the phenomenon of the supermodel happened. And then, interestingly, like once they were kind of like at the top of their game and became a powerhouse, and people in fashion were like, wow, these women actually have power now, how they essentially the fashion industry starts to turn on them and and successfully really to a point like pull them back down again, because they didn't really like the fact that these women, surprise surprise, women in the 80s like having power, like bad. So just trying to pull that power away, but how they also it became about them more than about the fashion label, like it wasn't like, oh, this is like the new collection from Chanel coming down the runway. It was like, oh, firstly, here comes Christy Turlington in that's what's more important. But we're like 3 episodes in, and it is so amazing. Like I feel like if you're of a certain generation, I don't know now, like if you're someone that's like, who the hell is Jessica even talking about? But like if you were a child of the 80s or even of the 90s, you know these names. And I just think it's a really amazing documentary, but it's a really important one about women and just about, like, as always, just the way women have been looked at, objectified, but also how women have used their power in a really positive way, but then how society turns on them. So yeah, obviously nothing to do with nutrition, but a really amazing documentary on Apple TV. So that would be mine. It's really good. No, it's so interesting. Yeah. Oh, I remember you talking about that. Ah. Which is like nice bonus. Yep. Oh, don't you? I don't know if it's on binge or anything. I'm pretty sure at the moment it's on Apple. Yeah, even when you just saying like how you love like that concept of people's lives and the choices that they make and the decisions that they make and how that leads to obviously different life events. This documentary is very much about that, like just some of the things, some of the decisions that they make and the things that happen. And he's just like, oh my God, like that's what happened, that's what happened with this. And yeah, there was even this, I don't know if you remember, because obviously I'm a little bit older. There was a Wham video clip back in the 80s, late 80s. And I can't think of the name of the song, but basically he did the video clip where he had those four supermodels before they were supermodels right on the cusp. They actually were the people in the video clip and they mimed, like it would cut from one woman to the other and they were like miming the whole song. So he wasn't in it at all. It was all just these women. I should link, I'll see if I can find it. I'll link it in the show notes. Like it's iconic and it is basically the turning point of what took them from being like these really sought after models to supermodels. Was this song, and then taking that song after they did it and playing it as the four of them walked down the catwalk together. It was just like they became iconic from that moment. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was big. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Of course. Yeah. Mm, exactly. Well, she really she got labeled as basically being difficult and like, a bitch in quotation marks and like hard to work with. But they actually just have talked about this recently because she basically just stood up for herself and asserted herself against someone in the industry, not in a bad way, because they were trying to do something that was like exploiting her. And because she stood up for herself, he basically went to the media and portrayed this picture of her of being difficult, and it all snowballed from there and she became known as this like yeah, there's this classic like bitch mentality that women were labeled as. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so good. Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening. We hope you've enjoyed the show today. And as we always say, please share this in your socials. again, to go back to the topic, Chris has shared so much valuable information. So we would love you to share it. And also, as always, we would love you just to take the time to head to iTunes and leave us a review. Even just hit the 5 stars. It helps people find us. But other than that, as we always say, thank you. You're amazing. Do we always say that? Today we're saying that. You're amazing. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye. Cool.